Welcome you all to the course on Introduction to NGO Management. I am Dr. Manjari Agarwal from School of Management Studies and Commerce, Uttarakhand Open University. And in this session, we will be discussing various types of NGOs. In the previous sessions, you gain an understanding of what are NGOs and how they are formed. What are the basis of starting an NGO and what formalities are required to set up an NGO. As you know that NGO are non-governmental and non-profit organizations that are involved in welfare and socio-economic development of people by undertaking a wide varieties of services, and also they have humanitarian intervention for the benefit of citizens and their communities. NGOs are based on a specific cause, and accordingly on that cause, generally NGOs are classified. So now in this session, we will discuss broad classification of NGOs and their functions, categories of NGOs as identified by the World Bank, classification of NGOs on the basis of orientation, classification of NGOs on the basis of operations. So coming to the first, that is broad categories of NGOs, they are divided into grassroots organizations, health and education, advocacy organization, consultancy or you can say research organizations, training or capacity building organizations, environmental NGOs and religious NGOs. So let's first start with grassroots organizations. Well, these are the small NGOs that work directly with the community on the grassroots levels. They work for the empowerment and betterment of advanced group or marginalized sections of society. So accordingly, they are generally funded by government schemes or projects or charitable institutions or sometimes even from companies. Some of these NGOs also work for consciousness or awareness regarding social issues. Most are generally localized and they have limited funds and outreach. For example, like health, education, agriculture, women, and child issues are some of their key or you can say prime concerns. So many Mahila Mandals, Balwadis, Asha workers, Gram Panchayat, etc. They are working with the financial assistance from the government sources and charities. In these times, we saw NGOs, many of the NGOs in fact, they were distributing nutritional and energy-packed foods, or you can say meal kit to the hungry or daily wage workers, and in fact some of them to the migrant workers. And they also provided transport to some these migrant workers, especially during lockdown time. So taking few examples, Oxfam India, Save the Children, World Vision, UNICEF, CRY, etc. They are working with these grassroots organizations for meeting the needs within their neighborhoods. One of the NGOs based at Uttarakhand, as you can see, organize health, sanitization and nutritional awareness program under Swajal project. The same NGO is promoting organic farming and farming technologies under Tridhan Vidhi program to the local community. And they are not much aware about the latest technologies employed in agriculture. So what this NGO is doing? They are trying to promote or make them aware about the farming technologies. So they are providing training to the farmers to utilize scientific data and technology to improve crop yields, and even showing them how to make organic fertilizer for their crops. So these NGOs are working in varied areas and multiple forces for making desired improvements to a community health or even say well-being, education and overall functioning. Now coming to the next, these are health and education NGOs. These NGOs are putting forth their efforts in the healthcare and education sector for empowering people. Like they are augmenting social transformation in the society by providing quality health services, and in fact they are also promoting healthcare awareness. So the value and influences of these organizations are on the rise in different facets of health and education. Well, many of them they are working in rural, semi-urban and urban areas. Educational NGOs are basically striving for literacy, adult education, educating children and even mentoring them. So their primary or key concern is to educate masses for a positive attitude and a better condition of living. Broadly, these NGOs in case of healthcare are quite instrumental in disease prevention programs, medical services and treatments, medical research, prevention of addiction and rehabilitation of addicts, preventive care like maternal and child health issues, family planning, occupational and school health, and other public health care services. Another dimension is the prevention and control of HIV and AIDS. So further, if we want to go in more detail, these health NGOs are further subdivided into primary health NGOs. Their major or sole activity is health. Their central focus is on the activities related to health. Then we have subsidiary health NGOs. They are also called as secondary health NGOs. Their secondary or sub-activity is health. Then we have non-health NGOs. Hardly any direct activity they have on health, but they are promoting awareness, healthcare awareness among the people or among the community. Like in case of educational sector, Azim Premji Foundation, Smile Foundation, Teach for India. There are so many Pratham Educational Foundation, and there are a number of other NGOs to be quoted here. Those who are enabling education in India. In fact, there are many more who are working to meet the educational need across the states. Coming in healthcare sector, a few of the examples are Repra Society, HelpAge India, Rural Healthcare Foundation, Uday Foundation, and India Health Action Trust (IHAT) are few examples to quote for NGOs working in healthcare sector. In fact, in these trying times, we saw number of NGOs supplying hygiene kits to the health workers or COVID warriors. So these NGOs are seen organizing health campaigns, health checkup camps, blood donation camps, health awareness camps, etc. As you can see in this photograph, this Vande Mataram NGO based at Uttarakhand organized blood donation camp even during pandemic time. Let me give you another example of the NGO which is organizing various technological awareness and adult education campaigns for the local community. So these NGOs are working to meet the educational need and health needs required for the community. So these are all about health and educational NGOs. Next we have advocacy NGOs. The main agenda of such NGOs is to protect the rights and privileges of the exploited and the underprivileged. So such NGOs give or lend their voices to the issues of local, national and international importance, or even issues faced by any particular community or group. They are essentially a group of professionals with legal and communication expertise in their fields. Strong campaigns can sometimes be undertaken by such NGOs to change laws, procedures or policies. Such NGOs, they advocate for and raise public awareness for women's rights, children's rights, rights of vulnerable groups, environmental advocacy. So these NGOs play a crucial or very critical role in attaining high degree of social justice. Taking few examples, the primary purpose of let's say Fiji Environmental Law Association. It is basically they intend to promote the sustainable management of natural resources through law. Then CFAR, that is the Center for Advocacy and Research, PARVI, Public Advocacy Initiatives for Rights and Values in India, Udayan, CARE and many more such NGOs are working with broad values or ideologies around human rights, social justice, education, environment, etc. So they are also playing a very important role in creating awareness. Next we have consultancy and research organizations. So such organizations assist other NGOs in establishment, implementation and evaluation. So they help in strengthening the capacity of NGOs for improved service delivery. Such NGOs can play an instrumental role in providing expert advice and variety of up-to-date and pertinent information. These organizations also assist other NGOs in actually critically evaluating their procedures, their results, their functioning using appropriate tools and techniques. They help in identifying shortcomings or problems faced by NGOs themselves and help them in exploring ways to overcome these problems. So these NGOs or these organizations also contribute in advancing science and global health through collaboration, through partnership, or even by providing valuable resources or tools and funding. Next, we have training or capacity building organizations. These NGOs improve the capacity of individuals, groups, or communities for better condition of living. They provide trainings for skill enhancement and livelihood, building in collaboration with companies, educational institutions, MSMEs, and the likes. For an NGO in the broadest interpretation, capacity building looks at human resource development as an essential part of the developmental activities. So human resource skills development and training is crucial, especially for developing countries. And some of the NGOs arrange awareness and workshop programs on like handicrafts or handlooms, which are a very important foundation of an economy. So some vocational training like IT training, entrepreneurship, small scale business support, green skilling, art and craft skilling, courses like beautician, tailoring, for making women and local community self-dependent and self-reliant, and they can stand on their own feet. So NGO preserving and marketing handicrafts like woodwork, leatherwork, jute work, brass handicrafts, bamboo handicrafts, carpet weaving, etc. There are so many dimensions which they are covering. These organizations also help in increasing the capacity of other NGOs to achieve their purpose over time. These organizations generally extend their expertise in organization development, human resource development, financial management, governance structure, technological competency, leveraging core competency, and streamlining procedures and processes. So, the next NGOs which now we will discuss, these are environmental NGOs. Such organizations are working locally and globally for the protection of the environment. Some of their core concerns are climate change, watershed development, marine life, rainwater harvesting, forest and biodiversity, wetlands and rivers, etc. Let's take a few examples like WWF, like Greenpeace, Conservation International, Vansh Shakti Central Himalayan Environmental Association, CHIA, the Nature Conservancy, Friends of the Earth, and the Rainforest Trust, etc. are few examples of environmental NGOs to quote here, and there are many more. Tarun Bharat Sangh, an NGO based in Rajasthan, they are working tremendously in the area of water harvesting, environmental conservation, rural education, and health. Taking another example of Vansh Shakti, this is Mumbai-based non-profit environmental NGO. They are working for forest, mangrove, and wetland protection, environmental education for schools both at the urban and the rural level. They are also working for livelihood for forest-based communities, and they are conducting scientific investigations into local environmental degradation. CHIA, another example, the core concerns for the environmentally sustainable development of Himalayas. They are really working or striving for several mountain issues. They are engaged in action research and scores of livelihood-related projects. Further, they are also helping the local communities and managing them in terms of natural resources adequately and sustainably. So next are religious NGOs. Some of the earliest NGOs in India were founded by Christian missionaries in the 1800s. They act as a social service providers in educational and health projects, such as schools and hospitals, but these NGOs also had some religious element. So when we conclude this part, that is broad categories of NGOs, it should be noted that these NGOs are not mutually exclusive. This means that many NGOs which are operating as community-based organizations or educational NGOs may even work in advocacy areas. Say, let's say an NGO working in healthcare sector may also contribute to global health research, or any advocacy group may focus on specific project-related concern while not working directly in designing and implementing of the projects. So you can say that many of them have an overlapping set of activities or functions. In India, generally grassroots organizations, NGOs in health services and education, NGOs working under certain schemes are quite prevalent. Next, we will take classification of NGOs as identified by World Bank. So here, NGOs are classified as operational NGOs and advocacy NGOs. Operational NGOs, their primary purpose is the design and implementation of development-related projects. They are actually working at the ground level or the community level. Then, on the other hand, advocacy NGOs, their primary purpose is to defend or promote a specific cause and who seek to influence the policies and practices of the bank. So, coming to the first one, that is operational NGOs, they are again subdivided, or they are classified as community-based organization and national and international organizations. Community-based organizations, as we said earlier, they serve as a specific population in a narrow geographical area. Also, they are termed as grassroots organizations or people's organizations. CBO are normally membership organizations that are formed by the group of individuals having same interest, same background or same ideologies. So they are recipient of project goods and services or funds. They provide an extensive institutional framework in case of participatory development. They may undertake the implementation of community level project components, or even they sometimes receive funds to design and develop and implement such projects. Few of the examples here are women's group, credit circles, youth clubs, cooperatives and farmer associations. Next we have national and international organizations. Well, they operate in individual developing countries and in case of national organizations. However, in case of international organizations, they are typically headquartered in developed countries and they carry out operations in more than one developing country. So they provide helping hand to other organizations. We can say national or international NGOs, they act as a middleman between CBO, that is community-based organizations or grassroots level organization, and other institutions like World Bank or the government. Many national and international NGOs, they are working in collaboration or partnership. So the funds which are channelized from other institutions to national and international NGOs, they further channelize it to community-based organizations, and they are providing their technical assistance. So they act as a middleman. Coming to classification of NGOs on the basis of orientation, they are charitable, services, participatory, and empowering. Charitable orientation NGOs, they work from top to bottom approach. So here stakeholders or investors act as parents. They have very little contribution by the beneficiaries. In fact, many of these NGOs undertake relief or rescue activities during a disaster. These NGOs are working towards meeting the needs of the underprivileged or poor. Let's say these NGOs are distributing medicines, food, clothing, equipments, etc. in slum areas or in tribal areas. So NGOs provide safety kit, consist of gloves, masks, soap and sanitizers these days. So PP kits and face shields to health workers and many other things, including these to COVID warriors. Coming to service orientation, these organizations or these NGOs build programs and assign volunteers to deliver their objectives. Generally, they addresses issues like family planning, wellness, education services and the likes. In these NGOs, for the success of the programs, participation of the beneficiaries is really expected. Many service NGOs these days, we can see, are carrying telephonic surveys, mobile counseling, awareness and psychosocial support to people for coping up with stress due to outbreak of COVID-19. As you can see in this photograph, this NGO is conducting survey of slum areas for identification of problems, and they are assisting them in finding solution for the same. Now coming to participatory orientation, Generally, these organizations, they are involved with the local people in organizational activities and operations. So they expect contribution by the beneficiaries. They facilitate the planning and execution of programs to serve the needs of the community. Like Devbhoomi Gramin Vikas Sanstha, an NGO based at Uttarakhand, they are promoting eco-friendly organic fertilizer for green environment. And similar activities are carried by various NGOs effectively in different parts of the country. Now coming to next, these are empowering orientation. Well, these NGOs help in the community by providing information tools and techniques in understanding various socio-economic and political factors that affect them. So they help them in utilizing resources efficiently and effectively. They try to devise strategies to empower individuals. Like seeing this in this case, the self-help groups, they are creating awareness towards mobile group banking in Uttar Pradesh. So this is again one area where they are trying to empower the community. Next, we have classification of NGOs on the basis of operations. They are divided into community-based, national, international, and local. In case of community-based NGOs, they participate in planning, implementing, and financing their own infrastructure and improvements. They generally strive to address the problems arising at the community level. They are generally involved from the initiatives of local people, and hence they could realistically, or you can say practically, reflect their needs and issues. Sometimes they also work for raising awareness regarding rights, privileges of the persons who are vulnerable, even for the people or who are poor or below the poverty line, or any specific section of the community. So few of the examples to quote here are sports club, women's organization, neighborhood organization, religious or educational organizations. So these NGOs may work in a single project or schemes and a small project location, or even sometime in multiple project areas in different states or districts or regions. So the operational or grassroots NGOs can again be subdivided into charity and welfare NGOs, development NGOs, and social action groups. Say this community-based NGO is conducting awareness program on health and sanitation for school children. Hence, these NGOs either are working for raising consciousness of or awareness, while others may actively work in delivery the services. Next, we have national NGOs. Many of these have branches in various states and cities. They also support local NGOs. They generally deal with global, regional, and local issues. So the area of operations and objectives are quite diverse. In fact, quite diverse in their approach. So activities of national NGOs are solving national problems. For example, you can say there is a strike by the labor union, so they are solving it. So broadly, they work at the national cause. But they also support local NGOs as well. In case of international NGOs, they extend their reach to different parts of the world. Sometimes they operate all across the globe. They partner with national NGOs working at the local level, and sometimes even with the government organizations for working for environmental preservation, education, say human rights, or you can say some health advancement of women or any other specific social cause. So international NGOs, they provide aid and developmental assistance to the NGOs or local bodies in the developing countries. SOS Children Villages, Oxfam, CARE International, Amnesty International are few examples to quote, and there are many of them. So such NGOs, they are noticed that they have headquarters in one country, but they operate in various other countries through their network, and they may undertake different types of charities simultaneously. These may be identified as international development NGOs, disaster relief and humanitarian NGOs, peace and human rights NGOs, conservation NGOs, child sponsorship organization, and the likes. So now let us take an example of the Humanitarian Open Street Map team, HOT. This international team dedicated to humanitarian action and community development through open mapping. And they intend to promote and support the thousands of volunteers and dozens of local groups around the world, with an emphasis on humanitarian mapping to aid disaster relief, preparedness, and economic development. Now coming to the local organizations, these are an organizational entity that operate within an within an institutional framework or environment of the city. They play varying roles in addressing local issues. So these could be educational groups and you can say association of community organizations. And accordingly, they are generally constituted or you can say established for any specific purpose. Like city-based NGOs, they are taking numerous initiatives or they're taking efforts to clean the city or any river or any pond in that city, etc. Or say NGO working for some city-specific problem like mitigating occupational hazards and controls due to some factory operating in that area. So these are working with the local at the local level. Now, in these types of NGOs, I would also like to share with you some of very creative terms or terminologies which are quite prevalent regarding the types of NGOs. And these are AGN, that is Advocacy Groups and Networks. BINGO, it is big international NGOs or sometimes a business-friendly international NGO, like Red Cross is one of the example. Then BONGO, that is business organized NGOs. DONGO, donor-oriented or organized NGOs. And ENGOs or environmental NGOs. GDOs, so grassroots development organizations. GRINGOs, governmental run or government run or inspired NGOs. LINGO, little international NGOs. TANGO, it refers to technical assistance NGOs. MANGO, it refers to market advocacy NGOs. So there are so many creative terms which are used to depict the various NGOs on the basis of their approach, operations, or their capacity in which they are functioning. So, in this session, we discussed broad classification of NGOs and their functions. And this we discussed grassroots organizations, health and education, advocacy. Then we discussed consultancy and research organizations. We also discussed training or capacity building organizations, environmental NGOs, and religious NGOs. Then we also discuss categories of NGOs as identified by the World Bank, and these are operational NGOs and advocacy NGOs. Then we also discuss classification of NGOs on the basis of the orientation. And here on the basis of orientation, NGOs are classified as charitable, service, participatory, and empowering. Then we also discuss classification of NGOs on the basis of their operations. And here NGOs are classified as community-based, national, international, and local. Thank you.